Introduce yourself.
So nice to be here, everyone. Wow, it's been a crazy couple weeks. Will, how much sleep have you gotten in the last couple weeks?
Oh my gosh, not enough. Not enough indeed. But
I don't know if anyone's seen Will's LinkedIn post about your Google Calendar. How many average calls are you doing a day?
I think we're at like double digits. It's like 10 or 11 demos, follow-ups, everything else. But I mean, it's all thanks to, honestly, to you guys. The excitement we've seen from the Ploy community has been incredible.
Yeah, and I think that's where I kind of want to start, which is, when we first started working on Ploy, we were just like, hey, I want to build this thing. Let's go put together all these different pieces across website, across ads, across all these SEO, and let's just like merge it all together, put AI on top of it, put agents on top of it, and see what people can do. And really, like, there's such a variety of businesses, right, that we've seen use Ploy. So, I mean, everything from this business right here that I'm looking at, drivebox.com, right? So shout out to Adil. I mean, he built an incredible 8-figure a year business by renting out golf simulators on a trailer. And they migrated their entire website to Ploy. They've got an entire marketing engine that is now humming on Ploy. It's telling them how they're doing in SEO. It's giving them reports from Google Analytics. It's finding gaps in Google Search Console, right? So that's just one of the small businesses that's on Ploy today. We've also got pretty incredible big companies that are using it.
Shout out to our friends from Clay.
So this is a Ploy built page that their SEO lead built, and it's absolutely incredible. So it's like, it services like actual how-to content, right? How someone can use Ploy, but it's got so much rich information on here, and it's interactive, right? So this is like the content that Google really is looking for. They're looking for time on page. They're looking for click-throughs. They're looking for engagement. They're looking for deep, real content, right? So this is another example from a, like $7 billion company.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And then last but not least, we have incredible agencies. So actually, Will, you're actually the one that put me in touch with TNT. Why don't you tell a little bit about this story?
Yeah, so I know I saw Kate Dunn in the chat earlier. Shout out Kate Dunn. She's been doing incredible work for her clients through Ploy. But yeah, for those guys who aren't in the know, TNT is an incredible agency. Adam, the founder, is one of the few like real experts out there, I think, in paid ad spend. I mean, the amount of spend he's driven, as well as the clients he's worked with, I think speaks for itself.
It's like almost $1 billion.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Right? And when you combine, that expertise with the ability to spin up conversion optimized pages for all those ads and ad spends, it's a match made in heaven.
It's really cool. Yeah, I'm really grateful that you put us in touch with Adam. All right, let's jump into it. Okay, so I don't know how many of y'all have actually signed up for Ploy thus far, but I'm actually, before we jump in, I actually am really proud of our onboarding experience. And like when Will first started, he was like, your guys' onboarding experience sucks. And I was like, Will, all right, I got you. So me and the team of engineers, so shout out to Max, Christina, like we thought really hard about how to build a truly AI native onboarding experience, okay? So when you guys first sign up for Ploy, you will essentially get an experience that's handheld. So it'll look at your email, it'll essentially derive like, hey, what domain is this person associated with? You're not gonna see that today because I have like so many different accounts and stuff, but you're gonna very quickly get an experience out of the gate where we are actually gonna start with one of the most common sort of onboarding sort of flows that our users go through. And it starts with what we call a site slurp.
The slurp.
And to bring the slurp inventor onto the stream, I'm really excited to bring in a special guest. Can we actually pull in Q onto the stream?
Hi, hopefully y'all can hear me okay.
Hey Q, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well. How you guys doing?
We are doing great.
Q, where are you joining us from today?
I am joining y'all from Markham, Ontario, Canada. So I see a couple of folks in chat are from Canada. Howdy, y'all.
Love it, love it. Okay, so Q is the genesis, the hand of God behind.
Those words are too big.
And a lot of people wondering now, it's like, hey, like this process, like, can I just do this in AI, right? Can I just like clone my existing site and start from there? But actually, it's actually not that simple. So Q, while this Slurp for HubSpot.com is kicking off, why don't you tell us a little bit about Rosetta and the Slurp process?
Oh boy. So Rosetta, that is a code name that we have for this slurping process. And the idea for Rosetta is basically, given any website on the internet, and its bare components is composed of HTML and CSS, how can we translate that into something that Ploy can work with? And the idea of Rosetta, very much inspired by what Apple did when they first released Apple Silicone, is can we somehow translate any CSS into something that we can work with? So a lot of this actually isn't AI, because there's no way that AI can actually translate every single CSS rule through responsive this, hovers that, all this kind of stuff in what would this, like approximately a minute and 30 for something like HubSpot. There's no way it can do that efficiently in any way. So we had to kind of invent this thing to help translate everything over. And that'll help you get started anyway for setting up your initial site with section components. Everything is already Ploy themed. Ploy theming is just like our enhancement on top of the native Tailwind stuff that all the modern big boy AI models out there understand and like to work with. So that's a very long-winded answer for me to say.
Is that site slurp is not meant to be a one-to-one clone, right?
No.
So, a lot of people, we'll get a lot of messages just like, hey, like totally bork the site. And I think like we'll do our best effort, right?
Yeah.
But it is best in class. It's best effort, but best in class in terms of what it can do, in terms of taking your existing website and codifying it into a design system that a professional like you, who has spent the last decade plus building design systems, can appreciate and can work with, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the really exciting things about Rosetta. So let me talk through really quick about what can happen after the site slurp process. So very quickly, Ploy can tell you, hey, like what's actually most interesting for you? And it's already done a bunch of research on HubSpot. So it knows that, okay, it's a CRM, and it's going to suggest a few things. So it could suggest, hey, like, let's go and improve AEO and SEO by getting found in search and AI. It can go and turn more visitors into customers. It could go and build more on-brand pages at scale for ad landing pages, for account-based marketing, for all these things. It can even redesign a site, but we'll get to there.
We'll get there.
But, let's actually just jump into how Ploy actually converts, how Ploy actually walks the customer through some of these workflows. So you're going to hear this word down the line, but they're essentially, we have employed these set of playbooks, right? So Will, like, what are some of your favorite playbooks that you've seen so far?
Honestly, I think my favorite Ploybook is probably the AEO SEO one written by, Omid. I think there's few people out there
What a legend.
who are as, masters of the channel compared to Omid. I mean, what was it, like #1 ranking for like AI marketing tools?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So Omid, I had the great fortune of working with him at Webflow. He's now the head of growth at a company called Gumloop. Awesome product. Go check out Gumloop. But he actually had spent the last 5 years, helping clients with SEO. And he essentially codified a lot of that strategy into these playbooks. And what these playbooks are a set of instructions that help you execute this particular human-curated, Ploy-tested workflow that is guaranteed, not guaranteed, I can't guarantee that, but is highly conducive to outcomes and success, right? So this is one that we're going to run with HubSpot. So I actually just ran this right before the call, and I was like, hey, let's go optimize the hero using Julian Shapiro's playbook, and actually pulled in dynamically the optimize above the fold content playbook. And he was like, okay, let's actually look at how the existing site is doing, and actually let's go and like do an audit of it, right? So let's just actually see like, hey, what's actually working on this, right? So it actually went in, read the whole page, and you're just like, okay, this is actually our recommendation here. And this is the big difference with Ploy versus everything else out there, is that it can not just tell you what to fix, but it'll help you fix it too. So here we have a recommendation, and Ploy generated a new headline and a new hero. So it asked me what headline I should ship, and it went and rebuilt this hero, right? So this is a different messaging, right? For HubSpot, it sort of follows the Playbook. By the way, HubSpot, I don't know if you're watching, but you might think, this is not the right direction, but, wanted to show at least like, hey, this is Julian Shapiro, this growth mastermind's sort of above the fold optimization playbook applied to HubSpot.
So I guess question for you, and pretend like I know nothing about Ploy, total beginner. If I'm a marketer at HubSpot and I think this is like 70% of the way there, 80% of the way there, how do I actually work with Ploy to bring it to that last mile?
Really good question. So there's so many different ways you can do it. The easiest and most approachable way is through this tool. It's called the annotation tool, the select tool. So when you hover over this, there's also a keyboard shortcut for it, for C. You can actually get into this mode where you can actually hover over different elements, and you say like, actually the value prop is different. And then you can send this to chat, and then it'll go and pump it out. So that's one way. However, like I mentioned, you actually get true production quality code as if a developer were to write it. So you're not going to get what we'll show you later with a bunch of sort of special styling. You're going to get really clean code for the reason that it's actually easier for agents to work with it, but it's also easier for humans to work with it. So here, like, we can actually go into the code. We can actually edit the copy if you wanted to. I've always just defaulted to the annotation tool.
Yeah.
And then we also have a lot of really more non-AI approaches for editing a site that's a lot more deterministic that we're working on.
So you kind of get like the best of both worlds of like the speed and the leverage of like the vibe coding, but also the precision of those like what you see is what you get type editors.
That's right.
I mean, that's cool and all. So it looks like we made some changes here, or we would make some changes. Once we're actually happy with this, like, what does it look like to bring this live? Do I need to like get my IT team involved? Oh, okay, there's the publish button here.
Yeah, so essentially something to remember about Ploy, and this is, coming from over a dozen years working at another web publishing platform, is that, our hosting is built in. So there's a lot of different reasons why our hosting is built in. First, it's like way easier. Second of all, so this is actually built for someone that's completely non-technical. So if you just simply click add a custom domain, our agent will actually step you through the domain integration process. It'll step you through publish readiness. So shout out to Lorenzo on the team, who spent a really long time on this publish readiness playbook. And what this does is it's going to make sure you connect to your GA4 or your Google Search Console. It's going to look at your sitemap. It's going to make sure that you can cut over your DNS over to Ploy with no downtime and with all of your SEO juice maintained.
Wait, but if it's like a DNS cutover, does that mean I need to like rebuild out my entire site in Ploy before I bring it over? Or?
No. So that's another thing, is that Ploy actually has a reverse proxy that's built in. So you could keep your existing Framer, Webflow, WordPress site, and you can essentially just tell Ploy after you switch your DNS over, hey, just serve these pages, these URLs from Ploy, but then all the other pages, let's have it work the same way. Continue to serve it from WordPress, from Webflow, for Framer. And then that just makes it easy for us to allow you to add net new pages, right? So you don't have to do this huge cutover. So we've actually seen customers go live in a matter of hours on their existing.
Wait, so you're telling me if I'm like in this webinar right now, I can literally make a page and have it be live on my domain tomorrow, essentially.
Oh man, HGTV style. I love it. So it's like, we're gonna sell some pots and pans. We're gonna sell some knives. We're also gonna sell some domains.
Exactly.
Live, and it's only 4 easy payments of $9.99.
But wait, there's more.
But yes, essentially, the short answer is yes. We've seen people go live super quickly with this particular product.
Okay, cool. So I think I have a pretty good understanding now as my, Ploy novice character of how Ploy can actually power my site. But what about this whole like growth engine piece, automating growth, putting these channels on autopilot? I think that to me seems like where the real power is here compared to any other web platform.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so again, I'm going to go back to our Ploybooks, right? So these are Ploybooks that are human curated again. Some of like the most cracked growth experts, like shout out to Emery, shout out to Neil at Rippling, right? These are folks that have worked with us to make sure that these are repeatable growth motions. So let's just maybe bring up this SEO and AEO gap report. So what this did is, as you can see, it leveraged Omid's SEO and AEO strategy system playbook, and it built this entire SEO and AEO report based off of this playbook. So this is actually something that in other positions that I've had, like I've had to spend like 6 figures to get a similar sort of report from an agency.
Yeah.
And here's the thing is that, this is actually a report that actually can come up with not just the recommendations, right, for some of these search terms and how many times you're being mentioned, but it can actually sort of recommend certain builds and actions from them. And then Ploy can take sort of action from those recommendations, right? So like, here's a report. It said if HubSpot like rebuild the comparison page as a neutral comparison. HubSpot is number 14 with the pitch page. Salesforce is number 3 with a hub.
So Ploy's actually looking at competitors here and see what are they doing?
That's right. So essentially Ploy will spin up all these agents and do deep research on you and your competition, how they're showing up on the web, where they're ranking, what keywords they're ranking for. And we're working with providers here to give us all this data. It also has AI visibility.
Wow.
Right. So help you show up, like help tell you where you show up in ChatGPT, Complexity and stuff.
That's incredible. I remember like long nights and hours, like in years before of spending so much time crawling all these items to some of these reports. It's crazy that agents can extract it all now.
Yeah. And like the best part is that, especially for our marketing site, right? You've seen this before.
Oh yeah.
Like you just like click one button, execute a ploy, and it's just gonna go cook off for your page.
That's sick. So you show me like, what we have here.
Okay, so something I really want to talk about is we actually have a lot of customers coming to Ploy that want to redesign. So I want to talk about this really quick because this is actually something that Ploy is uniquely good at and very differentiated from. So a lot of folks are such as OperaGo, they've signed up and they're like, hey, like I actually want you to redesign this. And Q, we've looked at a lot of web designs, right, Q? And like we've seen that, models, they're all kind of building the same thing.
I mean, I look at this and it looks like your classic kind of AI vibed out, like Next.js site.
Yeah, exactly. So Q, I want to tag you back in because, we've tried to get Claude Design come up with something really interesting for this exact same brand, right? So we've given it like the exact same page contents, and we tell Claude Design, like, hey, go create a homepage for this. And what you're getting is just like different colors, but there's so many AI tells, right? So Q, I actually want to pull you back in and see if you can talk through how Ploy approaches the redesign journey.
Hi, so I guess if y'all can see this on screen right now, this is our run through of OperaGo. Both Claude Design and what this ran through use the same initial page context, meaning this is all the stuff that's on the page. We have the logo, there's no images, but all that information. And the thing that's really different is we try really, really hard to ground AI's designing flow based on how humans actually design. And how humans design is, well, you try to find as much kind of design cues, design inspiration, and all that kind of stuff as whatever that vibes with you. And you use that as basically context to start designing a thing. And in this case, we started off with I don't know if you can pull this up, but inside of Ploy, we have a thing called Lookbook.
Hmm.
And as of today,
Do you want to pull up the admin page, Q?
I guess so.
Let's do it.
We'll be
behind the scenes today.
behind the scenes a little bit. Shout out to Lorenzo and friends. We're going to be exposing this a little bit. We'll be exposing this to the users. But Lookbook is our own internal collection, private collection right now, of all of these kind of different design inspirations to help steer the AI. And it ranges greatly for different industries, from childcare to minimalist SaaS to all this kind of stuff. And with all this visual context, it not only helps our AI, but then it also helps you, because maybe you don't really know what design direction you might want to go into. But similar to things like interior design or even culinary foodstuffs, if you see a menu of things you might like, you might choose one or two things there, versus if someone were to ask you, what would you like? Difficult to kind of give an answer without, thinking about prior things. So this is really, really helpful. And that's what I use as part of this design process. Another thing as well is you can see that there's a heavy emphasis in imagery. This is another version we did for Opera Go. Completely different look, completely different imagery as well. And something that y'all need to know, Bryant had mentioned that Bryant and I have looked at many different websites. I've looked at, I don't know how many websites throughout my entire career at this point. A lot. Too many. I dream of websites. It's that bad. A lot of the layouts that you will see, even from the websites that people go, oh, these are wonderful looking designs, they kind of break down into very similar layouts. But the thing that distinguishes them is their use of imagery or video and how that blends with everything. So because of that, we're trying really hard to come up with really good imagery. In this case, it's a little bit more abstract, and Opera Go, I'm kind of doing this on your behalf, I suppose, to make it look more unique, right? Versus the typical fake imagery, CSS-y kind of stuff that something like Claude Design, not to pick on Anthropic, but then also GPT from OpenAI will produce as well. And you get image generation as part of the Ploy experience. So that's what we did for these two runs, Opera Go version 1 and version 2, for the different looks that you see here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Q. And I actually think it's worth actually talking about why, right? Like I was chatting with an investor just yesterday, and he's just like, wait, like websites, like aren't websites dead? And I'm like, bro, like no. Like, because first of all, I actually believe in the importance of human taste, but more importantly, individuality. And I actually think with AI, you're actually going to end up with more solopreneurs, more small businesses. You're actually going to have people kind of gravitate away from large corporate jobs into like, well, actually, let me go follow my passion. Mm-hmm. And that passion could be some of the examples that we'll bring up later, right? That passion could be like starting an e-commerce brand. Passion could be a services or consulting business, right? So in that world, it's actually more important for you not just to have a website, but to have one that actually truly represents you as the individual, the proprietor behind the business, right? So I actually think that's just one of the real reasons here why we want to imbue that level of personality and individualism into every single site that someone can build and deploy.
Yeah, I mean, I think, for the past few years, ever since the models came out, people have been crying from rooftops that taste is the differentiator, brand is the differentiator. And I think there's been some concern that, hey, with these, generative models, are we almost like commodifying this like level of fidelity? But I think what people tend to forget when the floor gets raised by tools like this and technology like this, that the ceiling gets raised as well. Yeah. And when tools like this come out that actually allow operators and creators and builders to, do what they're great at, but in a much, higher leverage way, it disproportionately allows their skills to shine. And I think we're starting to see like incredible, beautiful sites coming out from like VizUX, who have great design taste, Tonic, the guys who did our website. They're making, great brands even more beautiful, even more dynamic, and at much faster rates.
That's right. Cool.
So we covered, slurping the sites. We've covered making edits. We've talked about designing sites from scratch. And also in terms of growth stuff, we touched on SEO to grow traffic. I mean, now though, the market in my mind is, all right, aesthetics, traffic, what about conversions?
Yeah, totally. So conversions are super important, right? So for example, this is to go back to the HubSpot example here. We have a lot of sort of built-in sort of knowledge about what makes a high converting site, high converting demo form or something like that. So here's like probably 3 different demo variant pages that we cooked up for HubSpot.
This is almost like accelerating the rate of experimentation to improve your booking rates.
Correct.
Oh.
Yeah, and here's the thing is that, I'm a geek about this, and, Q will be mad at me for not mentioning it, but this is leveraging the design system that Ploy builds and maintains for you. So it's not just the fonts, it's just not the colors, but if you're going to go and use Claude Code or Codex or something, you're going to ask it to go build a net new page, you might end up with net new buttons. You're going to end up with like net new like section components and things like that. And it's not going to have the sort of visual polish and consistency across your entire web property. So what you're looking at here is that even though this is just like an experimental page, this is like executed to be super on brand, even things down to the motion and the animations here. Like these are all things that are codified in the design system. You don't really have to think about it unless you really want to nerd out about it. But like these are some of the really important ways that we want to make sure everything's aligned.
I mean, I think all the brand people in the room right now probably have war stories where they updated the corner rounding on their buttons, and then they spend like a few hours trying to chase down the last pages where they changed and make it through. So I think the agents can carry that for us too. Yeah.
Should we show some of this stuff?
Yeah. So we talk about, so that was like how we can improve the conversion rates for a demo page, but I think the other biggest channel, and again touching on like TNT, who I see is being very active in the chat right now, is actually driving conversions for an ad funnel. Yeah,
totally. I'm super excited to talk about this. So this literally came about by accident. So I was working on Ploy.ai's website, and I was building a bunch of the pages, and actually really quick, as an aside, I actually think that the business owners are the best product marketers inside of work, and that very often folks bring in an external voice to talk about their business. And I think that was like needed actually in a world before AI, because it was actually really difficult to wordsmith things in the right way to translate what could be in a founder's brain into website copy.
Yeah, always.
But when I started to work on the website, and shout out again to Tonic, who helped us design this incredible brand, like I realized that Ploy's agents was able to be the best conduit between like how I thought about the product and the entire company to the website. So, I think we're still going to hire a product marketer at some point, but this is one of the best ways to really like transfer like the nuances of your brand to the website by using Ploy. And the reason why that's really fun is because I actually, sorry, that was a big detour, but I actually was using Ploy to generate OG images. And if you guys don't know what OG images are, so Open Graph, right? So these are OG images. And all these OG images, typically you would have to go and pull like a brand designer to go generate them, right?
I mean, I'm like opening up Figma, copy and pasting like those balloons over
exactly.
fonts.
But I actually asked Ploy's agent, he was like, hey, actually, we're missing OG images. And Ploy really surprised me. So Ploy actually came up with this technique that I'm about to show you that essentially created HTML pages with React. And it came up with a technique to create an image out of an HTML page. So just to like rewind. So like,
yeah,
you got an HTML page.
Yes.
That HTML page could be an ad creative.
Yes.
And what you're looking at is Ploy's, like probably the only product out there that can truly build an ad creative as if a visual designer built it.
Oh, yeah. So the thing you're touching on here is like, I mean, I've tried, generating ad creatives, thumbnails, stuff before. I mean, you always get into like the uncanny valley territory. The color's slightly off. There's an extra finger somewhere. It's tilted a bit. Things aren't like properly proportioned. But it looks like here by actually like leveraging HTML and JavaScript and React, it's like deterministically guaranteed conformity.
Yeah, this is the exact.
So is this an ad right now, or?
Yeah, so look, like I'm able to select it as an HTML page, right? So like for all the performance marketers watching, right? So brand adherence, but then this also unlocks incredible creative generation velocity. So what you can do now, because now that this page is built, all of these are, for the technical folks out there, like essentially React props. And you can come up with variations of like wording, messaging, positioning, like almost instantly now that this page is built. And then you could swap in the background. You can even like, have an interactive page to go along with the ad unit. So this really kind of opens the door to just a lot of experimentation.
Wow. I mean, you can even have it like quote unquote autoplay with JavaScript, and then boom, that's like a video ad essentially.
Exactly. Yeah. So we don't actually have the ability to export a video, but we're, shout out to Tristan, who's working really hard on it right now. But, that's essentially it, because we actually know that, the highest performing ad units, especially on social, Meta, Instagram, these are video creatives. And then soon we'll be able to generate a video creative from this.
Got it. So Ploy's making on brand, on strategy ad assets for me now.
Yeah.
And then I think the other, thing I want to make sure we touch on, like for TNT, is the ad is only the beginning of the journey, right? Once someone clicks on that creative, now you have to convert it.
Yeah, exactly. And then like, that's the beauty, is because like the design systems all employ, you can essentially just say, these ads look great. Now let's create an optimized landing page for ad for the Composer 2.5 launch, right? And then this is just going to go cook off a page.
That's sick.
And then also, you can also integrate with your Google Ads. You can integrate with your Meta API. And we should be able to, I need to double check on this, but actually update the ad sets with these creatives and make sure all the UTM tags are correct.
Oh, yeah.
And make sure that it's going to the right landing page.
Yep.
But then actually most important thing here is actually the data attribution. So Ploy comes with all the analytics stack, both client side and server side, for a marketer to be able to compute true ROAS based off of clicks, right? So you're going to get your platform reporting data out of Meta and Google, but you're also going to get the data that we can provide, which we believe can be much more accurate for you.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's almost like once you put all these pieces together, you can have a closed loop of data. I imagine once that happens, the agent can just like run wild.
That's right. That's right.
That's sick. What a world we're living in, man. And so, all right. I mean, now we're, pretty deep into the session. We've talked about page creation, editing, brand design, and brand improvements. And we've talked about, I think, what seems like almost like the big three of growth channels of like SEO, AEO for traffic, conversion optimization, for conversions. But then, yeah, we talked about paid ads too. What about for companies that maybe rely a bit less on inbound?
Yeah, for sure. So a lot of sales teams have big numbers over their head, but they also have named accounts, right? So in marketing, there's this concept of account-based marketing, or ABM. And ABM traditionally is this like voodoo magic thing where you have to stitch together all these tools. You have to integrate it with your CRM. You have to be able to, trigger it with Outbound. You have to be able to, do all this really difficult website personalization to get something that you currently looking at, which is something that was built, I think, in a few minutes, right?
I mean, wow. I remember years ago, if you want to get this like depth of personalization on your accounts, I feel like my engineering team, design team would come back to me and say, yeah, you got to pick your top three. We can't make any more than that.
There's no way. So I'll actually show off what this ABM Ploybook does. So you can see some of the reasoning here, which is it went and researched JP Morgan, this, made up account here. It's not made up, it's a real company, right? Just one of our bulge banks that runs the country. So it actually went and pulled in a bunch of shareholder letters from Jamie Dimon, and Diamond, sorry, not Diamond. And then it like got all this information to make this page super personalized to JP Morgan, so that when a sales executive at Cursor goes and does an outbound to JP Morgan, not only is it like speaking the language of their prospect customer, but it's able to communicate the value props of this product, in this case Cursor, to their target account.
Oh my God, I just saw the word COBOL up above, and that gave me some like PTSD flashbacks.
Dude, you're way too young to.
Wait, so I'm following more in the Ploy chat here too. It looks like it also kept crawling our website for like Cursor website for case studies.
Yeah, exactly. So it's also looking at what you already have, so it's not going to go and create a bunch of duplicate content.
I see. Oh, and wait, how did it use the case study in the page?
I'm gonna have to look at that.
Do we scroll past it maybe?
Maybe, but
Okay,
like
cool.
essentially, like it'll probably reuse your existing content on the site.
Yeah.
And then it's
it's right there. Actually, just shout out the case study, National Australia Bank.
Oh yeah, right there.
Oh.
Okay, cool. So yeah, this is an existing case study, right? That
Wow.
I was able to pull in.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So then, like, this is one of the landing pages that it built, right? So as you guys remember, like it went and built this landing page. I asked it to build this landing page, and then boom, in a few minutes we got Composer 2.5 landing page that you can just
So I'm almost imagining a flow now where it's like either me as an AE, I'm doing this for my book of business, or like my RevOps person is doing it for like the entire company.
Yeah.
And we just use these for like email outbound, LinkedIn ad campaigns, the whole gamut.
One of the biggest use cases I've seen is like drafting proposals.
Oh.
In a website, right? So it'll actually take a call transcript with all the context from a calls transcript.
Oh, like Gong or like Attention or something.
Exactly.
I see. Okay.
And then you drop that into Ploy, and then sales reps are able to essentially create a very hyper on brand to the prospect sort of page, essentially positioning their product to them.
Yeah, that's really powerful. Okay, cool. So ABM, CRO, SEO, paid ads. We've, I think, run the gamut of most of like the biggest categories to grow Ploy.
Yeah.
I want to make sure we leave enough time to answer questions, because I see there's a lot of stuff that's built up in the past 42 minutes. But one last thing before we jump into there, I mean, just like, personally zooming out of like ROI and stuff.
Yeah.
What have been some of like the coolest, funnest, most creative things that you've seen people do, like pulling around with?
Okay, so there is one company that I do have to shout out to. So her name is Penelope, and I had the opportunity to meet her maybe a month or so ago, and she is the proprietor of a business called Pads on a Roll. And this is a business that puts pads in all on a roll in all types of public spaces, and like so think of like schools and stadiums and things like that. I'm not the target ICP. However, I am someone that really sort of wants to support the spirit of entrepreneurialism in Penelope, and I think that as I got to know her and as we started to work on her Ploy website, she told me something. So she was like, Bryant, I actually have this Google sheet, and this Google sheet is filled with thousands of testimonials of women leaving testimonials or feedback after using the product. And it's a QR code in a bathroom stall. And I was like, Penelope, let's just turn that into a wall of love page. So what Ploy did here is that it connected to their Google sheet, and our agent was able to extract and build this wall of love page.
Oh, wow.
And, first of all, it's not the like most like incredible page like in terms of visuals or animations, but it's actually like the human voice in this page that shows through, right? Yeah. And like for Penelope, for everyone at Pads on a Roll, like this is a page that provides just so much validation for what they're working on. And I'm just really happy that Ploy can play a small part in amplifying that.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's really cool. All right. Now we've gone through that. I want to go into the questions, the Q&A, because we got a lot here. First one from, at the beginning. This one's coming from Mike Swartz. Do you have to run your whole site on Ploy to use it, or can you embed it with existing CMS?
Yeah, great question, Mike. So I think I mentioned earlier that you can use a reverse proxy. And what the reverse proxy can do is it can essentially just serve your Ploy built pages from Ploy. And then all the other pages can stay where they're at. If you want to migrate them over, Ploy can definitely help you migrate them over. So for example, if you're using a Webflow CMS or something like that, that can continue to stay on Webflow. So we actually have a few customers that we work with that currently do this, right? I think Attention is one of those customers. Clay is one of these customers. And they're able to essentially have Ploy built pages live here, hosted by Ploy, and then keep their existing CMS.
Got it.
We are also working on our own sort of dynamic CMS. So
Whoa, teaser.
So we actually have a CMS already, but it's more sort of a flat file CMS. It's not necessarily one as rich as like Webflow CMS, but that's coming around the corner.
Nice. That's exciting to hear. Follow-up question. Or different topic. Does Ploy process site maintenance updates automatically in the background, or do I, as a user, need to trigger that? Things like plugin theme updates, SSL cert renewal, broken links, image compression, caching, CDN, etc.
The short answer is you are not going to go through the very sort of onerous tasks of maintaining a typical WordPress site when you're using Ploy. So I'll actually show you, I don't know if we can pull back my screen share again, but this is actually what our marketing site looks like in Ploy and our instance of Ploy. So here are a lot of different suggestions, right? So we're not running anything automatically for you. So we'll actually automatically detect that, hey, there's actually missing Google Ads tracking pixel on your site. Click this Run Ploy button, and then we can get that fixed up. Oh, there's like some traffic decline because we had a huge GA moment, right? Folks are dropping off. Let's figure out ways that we can sort of turn that around. Oh, there's actually some, content gaps on your site. So the short answer is if you integrate your Google Analytics, your Google Search Console, if you have SEMrush or Ahrefs, like these are all sort of things that Ploy can proactively work on for you. So shout out to Rodan, who's working on our proactive Ploy system. It's totally cracked out, but it's the whole website working on your while you're sleeping story. And it's truly the case here with Ploy, and we use Ploy every single day.
Website working harder than you are.
That's right.
So we got another person asking, so I'd like to know if we accept all Ploy's recommendations for like SR homepage, do you publish those changes direct to our homepage or to a new page that is redirected? Then if we create, if we are creating new pages with Ploy and hit publish, how/where do they get published? I think it's maybe touching more on like the reverse proxy stuff from earlier.
Yeah, so if you're looking to use Ploy with your existing site, the easiest path is to work with us, work with Ploy's agent to get your DNS on Ploy. And then most importantly, set up the reverse proxy so that the requests that you don't want Ploy to serve can be set up that way. So it's a bit of a technical sort of process. However, we have a bunch of documentation on how you can do it.
We'll put a link to that in the chat really quick.
Yeah, exactly. So like the short answer is that you can use Ploy piecemeal. The easiest solution though is to have us have you change your DNS to us so that we can start servicing those pages.
Got it. Someone else is asking, so if I've like starting from zero, I haven't done anything with SEO and AEO, where's the best place to start with Ploy?
I would just sign up and see see what Ploy tells you. I mean, there's these models are pretty capable at this point. So we've sort of set up Ploy so that anyone can work with it. You can essentially get to a point where you can start with whatever you want. So I think today or tomorrow, we're pushing a huge update to Lookbook, which is something that Q showed off earlier. It's going to be a much better process for you to redesign your site from scratch, right? So this is going to be a process where you're going to get a new brand. You're going to get, well, not a new brand. We're not going to, unless you want us to, but it's going to create a new web redesign for you. We also have Ploybooks coming to help you migrate your site to Ploy, right? So these are all things that, you know, we're going to work on.
I see. Got it. We're getting a few more questions about hosting and publishing. So someone's asking, what do you give up by not having all pages hosted on Ploy? Because I think you just talked about the hybrid setup.
Yeah.
And is the goal to eventually migrate everything over?
Yeah, so a lot of our customers start small and then migrate everything over, right? So like the CMO of adaptive.build migrated over their custom Next.js site to Ploy in like an afternoon, right? So it was able to, you know, take their Sanity API key, download all that content, re-uploaded it to Ploy, and it was entirely agentically driven. So you're going to get a lot of like the sort of hosting features if you host with Ploy, and obviously if you don't host with Ploy, you don't really get a lot of it. So things like client-side events, things like analytics, things like visitor enrichment, where, you know, you can see who's coming to your site. So these are all the sort of, let's call it like the flywheels that can get your business sort of on this automated growth path, right? Because if I see that, oh, you know, the University of Alberta visited the site, or Acorn Engineering visited the site, this can actually trigger a playbook, right? And when this playbook triggers, it's like, hey, go research this account. Let's look at what pages they went to go look at, and let's go send them an email to who we think is the most relevant person. So there's like this whole other part of the product that we're not going to talk about today that like gets into that side of these sort of hosting features and then a lot of the sort of go-to-market motions. But these are the things that you get when you're hosting with Ploy.
Cool. So I think this is actually a good segue into the next question, which is more around like analytics for conversions. How does analytics and instrumentation for those events like work? Like, am I putting in like a Google Tag Manager or?
Correct. So you can actually bring your existing Google Tag Manager,
okay,
right? But Ploy also comes with analytics out of the box, and it's automatically instrumented for you. So like, actually, let's go look at it right now. So we are capturing session information, page views, scroll depth, clicks, right? And these are all traced back to an anonymous ID that we drop on that user session. And this is really important for ad tracking and performance marketing, right? Because you're going to go spend like, you know, thousands of dollars on a performance marketing campaign. You want to see this, right? You want to see where those performance marketing dollars are going. And you could theoretically do it if you had a really sophisticated data engineering stack, but we're going to give you all the raw data here with the server logs, with the client-side tracking, so that you can build that your own picture yourself. You could actually ask Ploy, hey, go create me a report, drop it in my Slack, send me an email every day. These are all the things that you can start to do.
I see. Okay, cool. Next question. Someone's asking, where does Ploy get best practices for like copy, design, etc.? And does it index more on like the client's brand guidelines, or is it indexing more on like the internal strategies, like all this like context we built up?
Really good question. So out of the box, you're going to get what we think is the best copywriting skills, the best web design skills. So these are skills that the Ploy team has spent a lot of time crafting and making sure that like it's up to the bar that we have. And, you know, as someone that's spent, you know, like over a dozen years in web design, web production, you guys just met Q as someone that has spent like over a dozen years designing design systems. You're getting like at least our taste imbued in the product when you're using it out of the box. However, you do have the ability to tell Ploy exactly what your preferences are. So we actually have a feature here and it's actually called workspace memory, and it's a very simple agentic memory system. And you can simply just tell Ploy, like, hey, like actually, like I want you always to write copy in this way. I want you to remember these preferences. And essentially it's going to codify it into this document, and it's going to be added to every single context window that you start in Ploy so that it can be remembered.
Got it. Got it. Okay, cool. So now I know, oh, it looks like Sean is doing a good job answering questions in the chat as well. Shout out to Sean. Someone's asking for more details on the HubSpot connector. And I think maybe we can use this as a chance to talk about the CRM connection in general.
Yeah.
I know that's like such like a core system of record for people's like growth stacks.
Yeah, so we actually didn't even talk about all the different integrations, right? Because here's a list of all the integrations that you can have in Ploy. So starting from design, you can hook it up to Figma, right? So this is actually the way agencies work. Is a lot of the agencies there do the brand design in Figma. So this is actually how Tonic worked on Ploy's branding, is that they created all these balloons, they dropped in all these fonts, right? And then they used the Figma connection to actually create the site. So this is the way a lot of agencies can bring in that visual design language into Ploy, and then Ploy, you can work with Ploy to build a net new site from there. Obviously, a lot of analytics tools built in. There's CRM integrations with AEO, HubSpot, and Salesforce. Spreadsheets, like I mentioned, Pads on a Roll, integrating with your Google Sheets. The entire G Suite, Zoom for meeting recordings, LinkedIn, so that it can actually like post on your behalf. X integrations. We actually have someone from the community, so shout out to Mercy, who's been sending me all these messages about what.
Dude, that guy's going crazy.
That guy's going crazy on Ploy.
Insane alpha being created with him.
Yeah, like he's got a schedule Ploy. Oh, by the way, that's something we also didn't talk about. So you can put Ploybooks on a schedule.
Oh.
So Mercy, every morning, 6 a.m. Eastern on his schedule, he has this entire like BD Ploybook that scrapes Twitter for relevant conversations and then DMs people. So he literally does business development.
That's crazy.
With X, yeah.
So that schedule too, I can also imagine putting like an SEO page on a weekly basis, or like every month, like re-optimizing the conversion for my demo page.
Your ad reports.
Ad reports.
Yeah.
And then I know like something else we can touch on too, but I just want to flag is, what about like programmatically triggering these Ploybooks? Is there a way to integrate it in that direction with the rest of my system?
Yeah. So we actually have webhooks built in, right? So these are webhooks that can ingest information. To be honest, this is one of those like places where we're just really scratching the surface of what could happen here. So those could trigger Ploys. So very similar to Claude routines, right? And the big difference here with Ploy is that everything is multiplayer, right? So we didn't talk about that. So like, Will, you obviously can open up this Ploy and you can iterate with me in the same chat, right? And everything is multiplayer. It's not locked in your Claude instance, your Codex instance over here. Everything is multiplayer to begin with. And I can add my team members. So let me show you guys how to do that. I just click this invite and I can just like type in folks, right? And so like
get Q in the mix, get Sean in the mix.
Exactly.
Okay. Someone else was asking, going back, maybe to SEO. I've read a lot that Google will penalize you if they detect AI slop. Like, can you help with that? How do you handle that?
Yeah, totally. So these are actually imbued into our skills. Okay. So we have a few different ways we cover this. We have an anti-slop skill.
Anti-slop skill.
So the anti-slop skill covers a wide variety of different things that are sort of AI tells, right? So M dashes, certain types of copywriting, right? I forget the.
There's like this self-contradictory thing.
Exactly.
Like, it's not this, it's this.
Yeah, you see that all the time in LinkedIn, and you're just like, bro, like.
Yeah.
And then there's also AI slop when it comes to web design. So the entire lookbook and the thesis behind lookbook is that we're going to build you something super bespoke, right? So it's not going to be something that you're going to get out of the box.
I see. All right, we're coming up on time, so I may able to just take one more question. Looks like someone named Emma is asking, what kind of results have people been seeing?
Oof. I mean, where should I start? Like, I mean, there are definitely a lot of results. I don't know. How's our own website as a
Oh my
result?
gosh, it's been
like,
ripping.
we went from ranking nowhere to ranking everywhere, right? So, I don't know. I haven't even looked at Google Search Console, but there's like a huge bump in rankings. Like our pages are starting to get indexed, right? So we're like nowhere, right? So now like there's like this huge surge of interest.
I know from a lot of people I've been working with on the paid ad side, they've been seeing anywhere from like 25% relative to like 60% relative increase in some cases on like the ad landing landing page conversion.
On the landing pages.
Yeah, exactly.
You could definitely see that on the landing pages if you have something that's really optimized for that.
That makes sense.
Cool. Should we wrap it up?
Yeah. Any final thoughts, Bryant?
I don't know who's left, but I said I would do this.
And we'll end on that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to our first ever and definitely not the last webinar about the joy of Ploy, setting up use cases, what's possible. Again, we're so floored and so humbled by the response so far, and we can't wait to see you guys out there, hopefully pulling around. There we go. All right, let's wrap it up.
See you, everyone.
Peace out.